Hi class, today we will be discussing something that high school gifted and first year composition students repeatedly struggle with, wordiness. Let's start by understanding what it means when your writing is too wordy. A good definition to understand is that wordiness means using unnecessary words or phrases that take away from the meaning and confuse the reader. So why is wordiness something that so many high school level students battle with? For students at your level, wordiness is typically blamed on meeting word count requirements. However, by using this strategy of filling a length requirement, the meaning of your papers becomes confusing and detracts from the content of your work. Wordiness is easy to notice in other people's writing, but difficult to diagnose in your own work. I have given each of you a copy of this wordiness checklist that you can refer back to whenever writing a paper. Let's take a look at it and discuss what it means. First, you should always read through your papers and eliminate any redundant modifiers. By this, I mean using pairs of words that imply each other already. The example I have given you is a blue-colored coat. We already know that blue is a color, so you can just say a blue coat. More examples of these redundant pairs would be a dishonest thief, safe haven, and a true fact, because you do not need both words to keep the meaning. Another first step in eliminating wordiness is taking out all words that are not needed. Every word should count in your paper, and if you can cut a word and still keep your meaning, then you should cut it. Less is more. The second box on your checklist is to simplify phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are verbs with particles or prepositions attached on the end. Examples of phrasal verbs are put off, feel out, and come up with. All of these can be simplified to single words with the same or more accurate meaning, such as create or invent, to replace the phrase come up with. Third, you should always replace prepositional phrases with possessives. The example I have given you is the classroom of the students. After simplifying and replacing this with the possessive form, it becomes the student's classroom. Fourth, whenever you can change passive voice to active voice, you should. It creates more clarity within the sentence. The example here is in passive voice. The woman was bitten by the dog, which is revised into active voice of the dog bit the woman. Lastly, the fifth box to check is refocusing any it clauses. Most sentences that start with it are linked to extra filler words. For example, it is important to bring your books to class every day can be revised to bringing your books to class every day is important. By switching these words around, the sentence subject clearly became about bringing books to class and not it. The most important thing to remember as you go through this checklist is that every word counts. Let's practice identifying word components in this writing and revising it. A copy of this passage is on the other side of your handout. Please follow along as I read it aloud. After an entire year of her senior year of high school, the girl was ready to graduate. It was finals week though, and she had put off a very huge amount of homework. The library of the school was packed full of students this week. With no more time to kill, the girl took all of her books home and studied for the entire week. Now let's go through the checklist and underline anything that can be taken out. I will give you a few moments to go through this process and rewrite these sentences more concisely on your handout. Pay close attention to phrasal verbs, filler words, prepositional phrases, and please change the syntax if it makes more sense to the reader with the same meaning. Let me read you my revision. The girl was ready to graduate by the end of her high school senior year. Unfortunately, it was finals week and she had neglected a lot of homework. With the library full of students, she took everything home to study all week. Does your revision look similar to this? I switched the first sentence around so that the girl was the subject. I also underlined put off as a phrasal verb and replaced it with neglected. I underlined very as a filler word and substituted huge amount for a lot. Lastly, I noted the library of the school as being a prepositional phrase, and I combined the last two sentences, eliminating the unneeded phrase, with no more time to kill. Take a moment to compare your revision to mine and your classmates. After discussing what wordiness is, how to eliminate it, and practicing together, I would now like you to revise these wordy sentences. Keep in mind everything we have talked about and pay close attention to your checklist. This passage is also on the back of your handout. Thank you for your time, and remember that when you are writing, it is quality that matters most, not quantity.